reason there's a little bit of static, but I guess we're good. Can you see and hear me fine?
Yeah, yeah, you're
Okay.
fine. So, hey,
Okay.
everybody. Hey, everybody. I have Tangela here. This is Linda Murray Bullard. You have joined the Business Plugs Mixer. And so I have my theme song. I keep trying to remember to play it. So, here's the theme song.
Oh, nice. Hey.
And so there we are, there we are, there we are. Hi, guys. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the business plug. And so today I have my mentor coming on and talking to us about relaxed power. Like, who doesn't need to get their corona life together right about now, right? And so come on in, come on in, come on in and join us at this point. I want to introduce my guest, Mrs. Tangela Johnson. Hey, Tangela.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Are you
So
able
good
to
to
hear
see
me?
you. I can. It kind of
You
goes
can
in and
hear
out a
me?
little bit. I can hear you
I
though.
love it. I love it.
So now I can't hear you, Linda. I can't hear you now. Somehow it went on mute.
You know that it does
Now I
what it.
can.
So, hey, Tangela, how are you today?
I am awesome. How are you?
Can you still not hear me?
So you
Oh
kind of
my
come
God,
in and out.
this is so crazy.
So now it looks like it's on mute from my end. I see. Okay, now it's not. So say something.
You can hear me now, I'm sure.
Now I can. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm
Yes.
sorry about that.
So
So
now it looks like it's on mute
it's
from
not.
my end.
Oh,
I
does it?
see. There's a delay. There's
Yeah, there's a
so
delay.
say something.
Yeah, there's a delay. You can hear me now.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Now
Okay.
I can.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Good, 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 good. Okay, I'm
Yes.
sorry about that. So it's not. I am having playback from somewhere.
There's a delay. There,
I love it. Yeah, there's a delay. So we're just going to go with it. We're going to go with it. We're going to make it happen. So, how are you? So, if you will introduce yourself. I am somewhere.
I will. And if there's a delay or something weird, just let me know. But so my name is Tangela Johnson, and I am a corporate consultant. I've been in business for the last 21 years. I work with all kinds of corporations. I'm known as the fixer by some of my clients. I primarily focus on leadership development and culture change for organizations. So that's what I do.
Oh, perfect. 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 So talk about how did you get to this? Like, how did this become the chosen career?
Oh, so that's funny. I think people, I think we start out on a path and we think we know where we're going, right? But God has other ideas for us. And you have to kind of be open to what the universe has for you. So you've got to listen, you got to pay attention. So I started out in corporate when I was in my 20s after college, and was there for about 7 years, and just really figured out that I was a creative spirit. I'm a problem solver, strategic thinker. So I would come up with all these ideas, these great ideas of how to do things differently or whatever. And they would say, "Oh, Tangela, that's nice. Now be gone with you, right? Go away." So I kept getting frustrated and I felt limited, right, in that space. So, and I'll just kind of say this, someone that I love very much died. My aunt died, my mom's only sister, and there was only 10 years difference between us. And we were very, very close. So we were more like sisters. And she passed suddenly from a heart attack. And it was on Christmas Eve. And that devastated me. That devastated. And so I spoke at her funeral. I'm the oldest grandchild, her oldest niece. And when I looked out at the audience, it was completely packed. It was standing room only. And this was a woman who worked in a factory, and she didn't make a whole lot of money, but she had such an impact on people. And so, like I said, it was standing room only. And when I got up and I spoke, I said, "Hey, I'm going to make everybody laugh," because she was a funny, fun person. And then after the funeral, I thought, you know what? If I died, I don't think anybody would show up because I'm just a miserable, angry, pissed off woman, right? And I got to get it together because this is not going to work, right? So I quit she died in December. I quit my job in March, took another corporate job. And during that time, I started to work on my master's, really kind of heal and figure out who I was. And then from there, I went to a startup company, right? And that was a great experience. However, they were crazy people. And, but that was a good thing because I learned a lot. I learned a lot from them because it was a startup company. So I had to deal with them. They sold medical software. So I made a deal with them that I would sell the software as a contractor, right? I would no longer be an employee of that company. And so I started out selling medical software to doctors. Now, here's the thing. I didn't know jack about technology or software. Lord knows I did. Not only did I not know, I didn't want to know, but I had to learn, right? So I would sell the software to the doctors somehow. And then I figured out that doctors don't have a great business sense, right? So I didn't know that I did, but I do. So I started noticing things. I'm a person who observes everything, especially when it comes to process, flow, and people. And so I would like say, they're not, it doesn't look like they're making much money because they're not doing this, or this. And so patterns and all those kind of things with the doctor's office. So I would say, "Hey, why don't you do this or why don't you do that?" And long story short, I started to become a consultant with doctors on the business side of things. And so that lasted for, again, about 7 years. And one day I was on my way to a client's and I just felt like the universe, God said, "It's over." And I'm like, "What's over?" That season was right? In the middle of all of that, I had started teaching. I'd always wanted to teach on a college level, so I started teaching. And I would teach communication classes and that sort of thing. So most of my students were adults who worked in local businesses. And so they would say, "Well, Tangela, why don't you come to our company and you teach us what you just taught, whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure." So I started doing that, and I started doing it through the college. Well, eventually the college I got rid of what they call continuing education, but I was still teaching at the corporations. Well, that teaching turned into, again, me observing culture, right? Helping companies
Mm.
figure out how to navigate and change and fix problems. So I went from just training to really getting into the strategic part of developing leaders and helping them create the best culture so they can have the outcome. So anyway, that's the kind of a lot of information. That's a lot of years, but being able to, wisdom is your ability to recognize change. Okay.
Ah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
So
Yeah.
anytime you see something in your life change, you've got to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that means it's your time to move or to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally, if you don't, you end up regretting it, or you will be stagnant, or you won't learn and grow in the way that you should. So there were marked times in my life, and that still happens to me actually, where I knew it was time for me to change. Now there's
Mm.
fear involved in that, of course, because you have no idea what you're doing, right? But when you feel that urge to change, to pivot, to do something different, you've got to make that move. You've got to make that move. Life is meant to be lived, and taking a risk is part of that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I had Dr. Laddie on from since Connecticut last week, and she was talking about the moves, about the different things. And like right now, so many people are uncertain of what to do next. Like they don't know what to do next. They feel like that things are just spinning out of control. And so, how did you know that it was okay to make the pivot, or did you even think about if it was okay?
that's a good question. I've been living this type of life for so long. I fundamentally believe that we're designed to evolve and grow. Okay, I've always believed that. I'm like Dolly Parton. I love Dolly Parton. She's amazing. She says, "You know what? One day I'll just drop dead doing what I'm doing, right?" And I feel the same way. She just dropped it. I'll just drop dead. I'll be talking, and then they're like, "Oh my God, she's dead." You know what? Just drag me off because I'm good. I'm good because I will have done everything that I had faith to do.
Hmm.
So I have always lived that way. Even interestingly enough, I worked really really hard last year, and I said, you know what? In 2020, I think I'm going to take some time off and I'm going to create because I want to write. I wrote my book, and I want to relax power. So I want to focus on that. But I enjoyed the process of writing the book, so I wanted to create some more. And so lo and behold, COVID
Uh-huh.
hit, and everybody was slowing down, right? So,
Yeah.
but it really didn't take me by surprise because that was something I'd already planned on doing. Usually, every year, towards the end of the year, I started to say, okay, what does the next year look like? What am I supposed to learn? How am I supposed to grow? So I expect to learn and grow every single year. So when I am 90, I'm going to be a bad woman, right? Because every single year I seek to grow. So I think having that growth mindset is a big part. Linda, did I lose you? If you need me to do something else, let me know. Well, I'll just keep talking. Hopefully, I don't know if you guys can still hear me or see me, but like I was saying earlier, even looking at COVID, what is it that you're supposed to learn from this year, from this experience that can help you grow and help you be your best? I always believe that there's like one thing, that we are missing or that we need to know in order to be our best selves. So, what is that for you? That's going to be something different than for me. I'm just kind of looking at my cell here and seeing if Linda's calling me. But what is it that you need to learn in order to be your best self? And I think seeking that and having that growth mindset is super important for all of us. And I've always tried to do that. I haven't always been perfect at it, but that has always really been what I've moved towards, I guess. So I'm going to call Linda and see how I can help, or if I need to do something different. So she said, tell you about the book, and she'll be right back. All right. So here's the book. So the book is called Relax Power. Can you see it? I'm holding it right. There you go. Relax Power. And you can go to relaxpower.com and learn more about it. And also you can order it on Amazon. So the book is really a labor of love. When I was 17, I wanted to write a book. So when I was 17, I entered a national contest where I wrote an essay. And this was before the computer. So I did it on a typewriter. And I sent it in and I won 3rd place. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can write. And they paid me like $1,000, which was a lot of money back then. And I used it for college. So I always had that goal in my mind that I wanted to write a book. But of course, when you're 17, you don't really know enough to write a book. You don't know enough to do much of anything. So I always had it in my heart to do that. And Relax Power is kind of interesting. The title is Relax Power, How Do You Live a Purposed, Not Perfect Life? And I've always really tried to focus on what is my purpose, whether it's in business or as a mom, as a wife, what does a purpose life look like? And then I'll give myself the grace to be imperfect, which I am, which we all are. So the book really talks about the ages and stages of life and what it takes for an individual to be successful. And by successful, I simply mean your ability to unleash your potential on this earth. So there are several chapters that will give you a good bit of insight. One of my favorites is the ages and stages of life. And there I talk about what should happen in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and your 60s. Now, as part of being a consultant, I also do coaching. I mean, I've coached hundreds and hundreds of people, primarily leaders, in the corporate setting. So people from CEOs to frontline leaders, and everything in between. So in coaching people, I learned a lot about what happens at certain ages and also what happens with time. Okay. So for example, I mentioned the number 7 to you. Well, I stayed in corporate for about 7 years, and 7 is the number of perfection or completion. You've probably heard of that. Well, if you look back over your career, start looking at those different patterns. A couple of other numbers, or several other numbers that are in the book. The number 2. 2 is a number of productivity. It takes you 2 years of really hard work to even have a clue. Say if you go to another position or you start a business or whatever the case may be, it will take you 2 years of hard work to really know what you're doing. And then 3 is a number of clarity, right? So usually about the 3rd year in a new role, a new position, a new business, you will have clarity about what it is you should really be focusing on. So those numbers are in the book. And I also talk about that in conjunction with your stages of life. What should happen in your 20s? What should happen in your 30s? Your 20s are about exploration and experience. So really in your 20s, you should be gaining experience, right? Oh, Hey, I'm just rambling on.
Well, thank you. Reverend right on, Reverend right on. They need to know this stuff.
Well, so I'm
So,
talking
so
about, so in your 20s, you really are just looking to seek experience and all of that. Your 30s are about purpose and passion, right? So typically when we get to around age 28 or 29, we start to get frustrated and we're like, what's going on? And I'm angry and I'm upset and I'm not happy. And usually it's time for you to pivot or change. You know, I said earlier, you got to pay attention when your emotions are not, you're not happy, you're not feeling joy, you're frustrated. Typically, it's not anybody's fault. So sometimes we want to say, well, I have a horrible boss. That boss they're the reason I'm miserable. No, it's probably not. It's you, actually. It's you. You have changed, you have grown. It's time for you to evolve in some way. So don't spend a whole lot of energy thinking that somebody else caused your frustration, your discomfort. Look inward and say, okay, what is going on with me? Have I mastered this? Is it time for me to learn something new or do something new? We are not meant to be stagnant. And if we could ever understand that, right? So when you master one thing and you do it exceptionally well, and then you're like, oh, I got this, right? Well, I mentioned the number 7. If you've been doing that for 7 years, the same way, the same time, yet learn anything new, you'll probably get frustrated. You gain mastery in that area. So how do you grow? How do you pivot from those gifts and talents that you already have? How do you do that? And you've got to ask yourself those hard questions in order to make things happen, you know? So Linda, thoughts or questions for me or anything specific?
yeah, so basically, it's about self awareness, right? Becoming aware of who we are and what
Absolutely.
roles we play in our life. That so we're not victims. You know, the Bible
No.
even tells us we're more than conquerors. Yeah. So how do you get to that though? Because a lot of us still have those limiting beliefs that
Right.
it's somebody else's fault and I'm right here. And so how do you break free of those limiting beliefs and take control of your life and start living the life that you were put here to live?
Well, I think for one, you have to want to be free, right? So sometimes we get so comfortable with our stuff that, this is kind of where we want to be. So, and it's unfortunate because there are so many opportunities out there for you, but you have to really want them and you have to really seek. Okay. So, for example, um, I've talked to, like I said, I've coached so many people, and this is how I figured out all these patterns about the ages and how long you're in a role. Typically, after 5 years of doing something, you've mastered it. So it takes you about 5 years
Yeah.
of doing something to master it. And that's true with business, that's true with anything. So when you get to that point and you're like, oh gosh, I'm a little bored, I'm a little whatever, pay attention and then start moving towards what's the next thing. So for me, this year has really been about technology. My daughter she just graduated from high school. So, I don't have to be as, still got to help her grow as a young adult, but I don't have to be so hands-on. So there are things that I can do that I want to do in my business. I want to scale, right? There's some things I'm challenging myself to do, but you have got to just take that first step of doing that thing that you're most afraid of and putting yourself out there. Even talking to Linda today, doing this. So a perfect example, my undergraduate degree is in broadcast news. All right. So I decided that I hated being in front of the camera. Guess what? I still hate being in front of the camera. Okay. I'll probably die hating being in front of the camera. But look at me in front of the camera. Okay. So that is never going to be something that I'm excited about. It's just not. So now everything we do is on Zoom, and I'm on somebody's camera every day. Oh my gosh. Now I'm gaining confidence in doing it more, but I don't know that it'll be ever anything that I just love to do, right? But in order for me to be relevant and to continue to grow, I'm going to have to do that. So that's my example of really digging in and taking responsibility for my own growth. And we all have to do that. It's no way to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's sorting out those things that you can control and it's those things you can't, because you can't control that all the meetings are on Zoom right now. And so we have to adapt. We have to adapt to those things that we cannot control. Like we have to give ourselves permission to be different. Permission to, okay, I can still not like this, but this is my life right now and I'm all in.
So, the second part, the tagline of my book is How to Live a Purpose, Not Perfect Life. And both of these titles came from other people. So Relax Power title came from, I was in Phoenix, Arizona, 2019 for a conference. And there's this Uber driver who picked me up from the hotel and he's taking me to the airport. That's about a 30-minute ride. So we had a nice conversation and we were talking about politics. And frankly, I usually don't talk about politics to random strangers, but I knew I'd never see this guy again. So, but we were talking about politics and I said, I may run for office one of these days. And I said, because I minor in political science, I'm always interested in politics and what's going on. And I think smart people who care about humanity should be in office, but that's a whole nother story. And so he got my bags out at the end and he said, you know what, you have my vote. And we both laughed. And then he said, you have a relaxed power. And I was speechless when he said that because I never heard the words relax and power put together. And I pondered that for months. And I thought, you know what, that is who I seek to be, is a person who's powerful and comfortable in my own skin. And so that, but then the tagline, which to me is probably even more important, a dear friend of mine whose mother is 92 and her friends, they were at the time 88, 89. We all met in Atlanta to just celebrate. They were all teachers and we met to just kind of celebrate them. They were great friends and it was three of them. They're 88, 89, and 90. And then my best friend, myself, and her sister. So it was just wonderful. So we stayed the weekend and they asked me to do the devotion on Sunday morning. And I said, sure. But when you have all that wisdom in the room, you have got to ask them some questions, right? So I asked, I said, ladies, what is it that you have learned in your 88, 89, and 90 years? So they all had different things to say. One of them said, my girlfriend's mother said, don't let people take up space in your head rent free, which I love that one. And then the other lady said, and it almost brought tears to my eyes. She says, I have really tried to live a purposed, not perfect life. And so that struck me as truth. None of us are perfect. And I think sometimes we don't push forward because we think we have to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. And if you can release that and allow yourself to be human, right? But to be purposed, you just would fare so much. And so that's kind of the title. But I mean, don't worry about being perfect. Focus on being purposed. Whatever that looks like for you, if whatever gifts and talents you have, go for it. Leverage those gifts. Don't focus on being perfect because it won't work for you. I mess up stuff all the time. I told my daughter, I said, you'll be crazy because of me. I'm sure of it, And I mean, hey, this is how it happens, right?
Hey, I have sons. I tell them the Same thing. Y'all start looking for a place for your mama.
So, in COVID-19, how can you really seek out your purpose, right? And it's a seeking
Yeah.
process. It's day by day. It's looking at your gifts and your talents, the things that energize you, the things that bring you joy, the things that you do for free, the things that give you kind of peace, right? Look for those things and then just take small steps, whatever they are, to move towards those.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
make things
I mean, it's a full life, right? When you're so
yeah.
busy, keeping yourself grounded, especially now, because there's a lot of distractions that you can get caught up in and that can take your peace. Like it's protecting your peace and being intentional about your peace, but then still moving purposefully, doing the things that you were put here to do. Like doing this feeds my soul. Like being able to share the people in my circle with other people in the world that who may be stuck or feel like they've lost hope or feel like, the uncertainties are out of their control, to help them to ring some of that back in and to gather control of their lives. That feeds my soul. This is where I feel at home. Technology may not agree with me, but this is where I feel at home. I love doing this, and I thank you. I mean, you have been a godsend to the people that follow me and the people who ran across us by accident. You have been a godsend to help them figure some things out, because a lot of people just need somebody to help them to figure some things out. And so by giving freely, we're going to put a link to your book in this post everywhere
Okay.
it appears. And we're also going to show people like who you are. We'll tell them how they can get in touch with you as well, because you do corporate consulting. And there's a lot of people, this is appearing live on LinkedIn. So there's a lot of people in corporate who need you to come in and talk to their people to kind of help people cope right now, because we're going to get through this thing together. And so want to make sure that they have access to you. Yeah, we're going to get through this together. So parting words, anything that you would like to leave as your parting word to the audience?
So I know this is probably a crazy parting word, but it's something that works for me. Discipline, believe it or not, discipline breeds confidence and calmness. So is there any area in your life where you need to kind of gain some discipline? And I'll give you an example. So before COVID or whatever, I would work out, try to work out 4 days a week, which I don't even like working out. I just do it because it keeps my mind clear and my body healthy. Well, I started to, I would usually just get on the treadmill, but since we've all just kind of been stuck in the house, I now kind of walk my neighborhood. Well, I walk my neighborhood and then I meet certain neighbors and we have conversations, right? So that one act of discipline makes me feel better physically, feel better mentally, and also I get to say hey to folks that I wouldn't normally have a conversation with, right? So what is one act of discipline that you can integrate into your life right now to help you feel stronger and more at peace? And it could be gardening, I don't care what it is, but something you can do every day, and also listen to sermons every day. Something you can do usually when I'm walking every day that makes you feel whole and more connected and more centered. So that's.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that is a great parting word. Our friend James said that that's a good subject, helping people find their purpose. And we just want to make sure that we all get there together. So it's going to take all of us. It's going to be a combined effort. Everybody bringing whatever your assets are, bringing your assets to the table and helping everybody else. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the business plug, and today I have introduced you all to my friend and my mentor, Tangela Johnson, at the North Georgia Corporate Consulting Firm. And so we're going to put a link where you can get in touch with her here. And Tangela, if you'll just hold, I'll go ahead and close out the show. So thank you all for joining us. And please pardon my technology problems because they are many. They are many. I never know when they're going to occur, but they come. And I try to get right back in. But I thank Tangela for taking you on a step higher, telling you about the book and introducing you to the things that's going to help you to cope in life. So you guys have a great evening, and we'll see you next Sunday at 7 o'clock here on LinkedIn and Facebook. You guys have a great night. Put any questions you have in the post, and we'll get back to you. We'll make sure you get answers. Have a great night, you guys. We'll see you next Sunday. I guess it doesn't want us to leave.